Hello dear students, my name is Dr. Gopal Krish Sharma and I am going to teach the Transfer of Property Act 1882. This is the first lecture which I am going to deliver, and this first lecture is about the concept, historical development and scope of the Transfer of Property Act. Here for better understanding of the Transfer of Property Act, we can classify the whole property law into two parts, the pre 1882 and after 1882. Because as we know that the Transfer of Property Act came into existence on 1st of July 1882. So, before 1882 there was no law relating to the property in the Indian territory. So, the question arises as to what were the legal position of the law relating to the property before 1882. So, when there was no property law, then initially the properties were being dealt with the religious text as well as custom and practices. But when Britishers came within the territory of India, then they brought their own legal system. When Britishers came at that point of time in England, again there was no specific law relating to the transfer of property, rather the transfer of property was dealt on the basis of law of contract and more importantly on the basis of the principle of justice, equity and good conscience. So, in England also the law relating to the property were in bit and pieces, and mostly they are being dealt with the principle of equity, justice and good conscience. So, therefore, I have divided the whole lecture into two parts. So, at first we will try to understand that how the law were being governed before 1882. So, before 1882 in India there were few regulations. That was the Madras regulations, Bombay regulations as well as Bengal regulation, which were dealing with the law relating to the property. But those legal system were the regional legal system, and those legal system were not applicable to throughout the territory of India. So, most of the Indian territory were not covered by this legal system. So, there was a gap, there was a huge gap between the law relating to the property and actual dealing with the property. Thereafter what happened, that when the principle of the justice, equity and good conscience was applied by the Britishers within the territory of India, then a new type of problem arose, because as we know that justice is having the protean face, equity and good conscience is also little bit subjective matter. So, when the judges used to decide the matter, they decide according to their own understanding, their own practices and their own thinking. So, it was found that the judgment which were given relating to the property were inconsistent, and different opinion were given on the different matter, and that has also created a huge problem before the Indian legal system. Thereafter what happened, that the British government thought that the law relating to the property would be must be enacted. The first law commission was being constituted, and the first law commission drafted the initial version of the draft of the property law under the supervision of Lord Romilly and Sir Edward Ryan, and that bill was introduced in the year 1877. But when the bill was introduced, then it was found that there were so many discrepancies in the legal system and there were so many flaws in that bill. Thereafter, the bill was sent to the select committee, and select committee published the bill for the public inspection, and ultimately the bill could not be passed. Thereafter, the matter was referred to the second law commission in the year 1879. And when the bill was sent to the second law commission, then that was revised by Wesley Stokes and Sir Charles Turner and Sir Raymond West. These three scholars has revised the previous bill, and they introduced the new bill before the for the purpose of enacting the legal system. Thereafter, finally, the Transfer of Property Act was passed on February 17, 1882, which came into force on 1st July 1882. So, on 1st July 1882, the Transfer of Property Act 1882 came into the existence. Now, as we know, and it is a very famous proverbs, that a preamble of any legislature is the mind opening of the legislature. So, here if we will go through the preamble of this Transfer of Property Act, then it itself speaks so many things, like what is the scope of Transfer of Property Act and what kind of legal principle is laid down under the Transfer of Property Act. Because this preamble is the key to open the mind of the makers and identify the mischief of the act intended to redress. This Transfer of Property Act has a twofold objectives. The first objective is to harmonization, because this Transfer of Property Act is aligning the rule of property transmission between living person, that is the inter vivos, and with the rule of devolution upon the death succession. And thereafter, this Transfer of Property Act is also little bit dependent on the law of contract and law of registration. Here let me discuss that what is the scope of this transfer of property. Whenever we are talking about the scope of the Transfer of Property Act, then again this preamble becomes relevant, because a preamble is talking about two important terminology, that is defined and amend the provision of Transfer of Property Act. But this preamble intentionally exclude the term consolidate. It means that this Transfer of Property Act is can only be amended, and it can define certain term, but certainly it does not consolidate the other aspect of the property law. It means the scope of this Transfer of Property has been reduced, means its scope becomes very narrow scope. Thereafter, there are certain other factors also which can establish that the very scope of this Transfer of Property Act is a narrow one, because this Transfer of Property Act is only talking about those kind of transfer which are inter vivos, means where the transfer is taking place between two living person, because under the, if you see the whole scope of the transfer of property, then the property can be transferred by two ways. The first one is that transfer inter vivos, that is transfer between two person, and second one is transfer by operation of law. So, this Transfer of Property Act is not talking about transfer by operation of law, rather this Transfer of Property Act is only dealing with those kind of transfer which are taking place in between two living person, transfer with inter vivos. And so far as the specific transfer is concerned under the Transfer of Property Act, that is the sale is a transfer between two living person for the price. The mortgage is another type of Transfer of Property Act which is taking place between two living person, but this transfer is the transfer of interest to secure the loan. The third transfer which has been given under the Transfer of Property Act is the lease, and again lease is a transfer of right to enjoyment for certain period of time. And another transfer is the exchange. Exchange is the mutual transfer of ownership, and the last one is the gift. Gift is a transfer of immovable property or movable property to another person without consideration. So, that is the gift. So, all these kind of transfer is taking place inter vivos, it means between two living person. So far as the transfer by operation of law is concerned, Here you will find that there are so many transactions which take place by operation of law, like the succession, law of succession, because as you know that the personal law deals with the law of succession, the land law deals with the law of succession, and after the death of the landholder, basically the property devolved automatically to the heirs of that particular person. And in the cases of insolvency, suppose the person has committed any default and the person has been declared as an insolvent, then certainly the court will enforce the insolvency law, and thereafter his property would be transferred from one person to another person. Or in the cases of court sale, suppose there are two parties, judgment debtor and judgment creditor. Judgment debtor has lost the case, and thereafter the court has also given the judgment for the sale of property. In that particular situation, you will find that the sale is taking place by operation by the order of the court, and order of the court is also considered as the law. And the last one is the forfeiture of the property. Suppose the person has been fined, or he has to give certain compensation and he is unable to give fine or compensation. At that point of time, the court may order for the forfeiture of the property of that particular individual. So, in that situation, again the forfeiture of the property is taking place by the operation of law. Here it is very much relevant to discuss with you that there is one very landmark judgment, that is the Bharat Petroleum Corporation Limited versus P case 1, where the Supreme Court of India has clearly said that the transfer of property is only dealing with those transfer which are taking place between two living person, means which is taking place inter vivos. So, it is very much clear by this discussion that the scope of this Transfer of Property Act is limited one, because it is only talking about the transfer inter vivos, it is not talking about the transfer by operation of law. At the same time, I must tell you that this Transfer of Property Act is only dealing with the transfer of immovable property. There are few exceptions, like in the cases of gift, even gift of the movable property can take place, but in most of the provision under the Transfer of Property Act deals with the transfer of immovable property. So far as the transfer of movable property is concerned, that is the subject matter of Sales of Goods Act of 1930. So, here for the purpose of transfer of property, we have a two legislation, that is the Transfer of Property Act as well as Sales of Goods Act. Transfer of Property Act is dealing with the transfer of immovable property, and Sales of Goods Act is dealing with the transfer of movable property, like sale of a particular product, that is the part and parcel of the Sales of Goods Act. Now, we will discuss the territorial extent and the application of this Transfer of Property Act, and here again I will try to explain that the scope of the Transfer of Property Act is limited one, because this initially when the Transfer of Property Act was enacted, then it was not applied to throughout the territory of India, nor it is applicable to all the religion subsisting within the territory of India. So, when this Transfer of Property Act came into the existence, then it was not applicable to throughout the British India, rather it was applicable except the Burma, Bombay and Punjab. It means initially the Transfer of Property Act was not applicable in Burma, Bombay and Punjab. Thereafter, gradually, step by step, the Transfer of Property Act was enforced in the region of Bombay, Burma and Delhi. So far as the Bombay is concerned, this Transfer of Property Act came into effect on January 1st, 1893. 1st January 1893, the transfer of property becomes effective in the territory of Bombay. Thereafter, on December 22, 1924, the transfer of property becomes effective in the Burma. Now, it is a part and parcel of another country. So far as the Delhi is concerned, the transfer of property came into existence on December 1st, 1962. And so far as the Punjab is concerned, initially the whole act was not applicable in the state of Punjab. except few provisions like the provision of sale, provision of lease, provision of gift. All these provisions were applicable in the state of Punjab, and rest of the provision were not applicable in the state of Punjab. So, by going through these discussion, we can say that still the Transfer of Property Act is not applicable throughout the territory of India. Again, we can say that the scope of this Transfer of Property Act is a limited one, or it has a smaller scope. Now, so far as the application of this Transfer of Property Act to the various religion is concerned, that is also very much important, because India is the country of diversity, where the person belonging to the different religion are residing, and these persons are also governed by their personal laws. And where there is a inconsistency or there is a conflict between personal law and the law relating to the property, at that point of time the personal law sometimes prevails, and the similar kind of situation happen in the cases of the Muslim law. So, if you will go through the provision of section 2, which is a kind of saving clause under the Transfer of Property Act, it provides certain provision which also limits the scope of the Transfer of Property Act. Here this section 2 basically makes the provision that this act the act does not affect the provision of any enacted or expressly repealed legislation, and the incident of any contract or constitution of property allowed by the law, and rights liability arising from legal relation constituted before 1st July. Thereafter, this section is also talking about that this section 2 specifically provides the chapter 2 of the Transfer of Property Act would not be applicable on the Muslim law, because Muslim law are having their own property legal system which are governed by the personal law. Thereafter, initially when the Transfer of Property Act was enacted, then Hindu, Buddhist laws were omitted and amended, bringing them under the uniform application of chapter 2. So, now initially there were some kind of restriction, but now the law relating to the property is applicable to Hindus, Jain, Buddhist, Christian, Parsis, but certain provision of the Transfer of Property Act is not applicable to the Muslims. This Transfer of Property Act is also not applicable on the government grants or the property relating to the government, rather it is being governed by the Government Grants Act of 1895. For the purpose of more reading or for evaluating more provisions relating to the application and scope of this Transfer of Property Act, we can refer the book of T.P. Tripathi as well as the book written by the Mullah. Thank you.